Most marketers in marketing, they talk about the business. They talk about the product, the service, their credentials, the offer, and most marketing fails. And it's not because the product is bad, because the person creating it never stopped looking in the mirror long enough to look out the window. And that's what Law 2 is all about. Today, we're talking about the narcissism spectrum. My name is Colin Charles. This is Enoch Marketing. Let's get into it. So we're in a series around Robert Greene's book, The Laws of Human Nature. And Greene opens the Law 2 with a concept most people misunderstand, and that's narcissism. Today, the word gets used as an insult, but Greene's approach is slightly more nuanced than how we use it in today's day and age. He describes a spectrum, and we all exist on it at some place. On the healthy end, self-love serves you and it harms no one. That's like you taking care of yourself, you go to the gym, you eat well, you're about your sleep, you show up for all the people around you because you have the capacity to do so. And let me be clear, that is not a problem. That is the foundation of a functioning human and a functional society. But on the other end, there's self-absorption. And that self-absorption can be so deep that other people stop being real. They become tools, obstacles, utilities, things that either reflect the greatness of the narcissist or get in the way of the narcissist having their way. And that is the destructive end. And it is far more common than most people want to admit. Greene writes, "We are all self-absorbed to some degree. The goal is not to eliminate this tendency, but to transform it, to turn our sensitivity to our own needs into a sensitivity to the needs of others." As we get further into this book, you'll start to see Robert Greene actually writes a fair amount about character and how important that is when interacting with other people. Shameless plug. I digress. The transformation that Greene is describing is empathy. Not as a personality trait that you either have or don't, but as a skill, something that you practice, something that you develop deliberately. We're going to refer to the story Mary Shelley wrote of the monster who wanted to be seen. Now, if you haven't heard this story, I guarantee you just don't know what it is. Greene used the story written by Mary Shelley to illustrate what genuine empathy looks like at its deepest. Shelley wrote the also famous story of Frankenstein in 1818. She was 19 years old at the time. She had lost her mother at birth, and she ultimately ended up losing a child of her own. She was largely ignored by her self-obsessed father and her equally self-absorbed husband. And out of that pain, she created a monster. Not a villain, per se, a creature who simply wanted to be seen, understood, and accepted. Now, Greene's argument is very sharp. Shelley, out of her own experience of being unseen, gave her, excuse me. Greene makes the point that out of Shelley's experience of being unseen, she had the capacity to understand the needs of the monster and be able to bring that into a place where the reader could feel it. That experience of not being understood produced one of the most profound capacities for empathy. And that is the conversation Greene is pointing out, that self-love that has been tested by pain becomes the raw material for genuine connection with others. So, he gets into these three different levels of empathy. First, you learn to see the world through another person's eyes. Not how you would feel in their situation per se. However, it is how they actually feel given who they are. A step further than that is when you learn what they feel, to let that emotional reality land on you rather than bouncing off. Third, and lastly, is when you can understand what they actually need beneath what they say they need. The real job they are trying to get done. We covered this a little bit in phase 1, where Christensen's job is the need to be done. It's the same principle at the human level. When you understand them so well that you know exactly what they need. Most people stop at layer 1. They imagine what the other person would feel. To be clear, that's not empathy, it's projection. Real empathy requires layer 3 and requires the person who is empathizing to stop putting themselves at the focal point long enough to listen to the object of their empathy. Saying that again, it would require you to be able to move yourself to the side long enough to hear the other person. Now, before I move forward, this skill of empathy is one in the toolbox of something that we just need to address. And if you hear anything over the course of this video, hear this. Understanding what another person needs is outrageously powerful. And it is a tool that humans can use to manipulate other humans. And that is outrageously dangerous. You have to understand that motivation and manipulation are two sides of the same coin. And if you understand someone deeply, their fears, their desires, what they need beneath what they say, then you have to make this choice. You can either use that understanding genuinely to serve them, to give them something that helps, and to build something that is real and lasting, or you can use it to exploit them, to identify the vulnerability and press on it until they give you what you want. And same knowledge, it's a completely different outcome. Your level on that narcissism spectrum will show up in the decision you made. Your character will also be revealed in the decision you make. Understand that any tool can be used as a weapon, and any weapon can be used as a tool. It is your character that is going to decide which it becomes. In every case, we do not condone manipulation. Not in marketing, not in coaching, not in leadership, not anywhere. Because manipulation only serves you in the short term and will cost you dearly in the long run. Do not manipulate. It corrodes the person who is manipulating, and it destroys the trust that makes everything else possible. Understand that character is not just an ethical choice. It's a compounding asset. Or the lack of character is a compounding liability. Depends on what you're going to choose. Robert Greene writes that empathy is a skill, but like any skill, it can be used either for good or for ill. Those who practice it without the moral development to match become the most dangerous manipulators of all. So, let's get into my thoughts. I'm going to share a story going back to kind of the first story. If you watched Law 1, you will see that I and my former boss did not have a good working relationship. Whew, did we not? Lord Jesus, help us. Man. However, I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to talk about the other captain who happened to be working in the office. And if you see this, you know where to find me. We can work it out. Now, Air Force acquisitions, right? I'm not the guy who's going to be like, look at me, I served. Air Force acquisitions is far from the combat side of the military. And with that, no camaraderie required, no shared danger. It's just careers, by and large. Now, there are some people there who've done some really real stuff. But the guys who come in as acquisition officers, and they're acquisition officers the whole time, unless they deploy, they don't really get that whole camaraderie, higher than me experience. It becomes a lot of politicking. and career working, and that incentivizes people to cut one another. So I was working alongside another officer, the same one I happened to go to the interview with for the position. He ended up getting it after I was fired, by the way. And I say that primarily because I recognize that I did a lot of things wrong in that position. And I own that. It's fine. I remember one day after he had taken over the exec position that he had said, and I'm quoting saying this, that if it came down to it and the boss said so, he would drop his pants, bend, and spread them to get ahead. Now, if that doesn't paint an image for you, then so be it. This same officer, because I messed up so many times, every time he would fail, he would throw my name in to take the blame over and over again till the day I separated. I kept the receipts, Ramos, for the record. He'd throw me under the bus because he knew he could. I had messed up enough, which I own, to know that anytime something went wrong, he could just blame it on me and the boss would run with it. Fortunately, the other side of that is relationships were my thing. I had great relationships with everybody across the region. So if I ever missed anything, I could email them and they'd get it back to me lickety split. So I would know if someone sent something to me and it didn't go up. And they would tell me if it didn't go up. Now, they told me they sent it to this guy. And he made it a point that, again, every time he would mess up, it would be my fault. Because he could lie to get away with it and cover his own ass. In the Air Force, we have a name for those people. They're called Blue Falcons. And if you don't know what that means, it's a way of saying buddy fucker. In that environment, where advancement required political submission over genuine performance or integrity or character or honor or any of that, deep narcissism spreads fundamentally. Nobody's real. Everyone's a utility. And empathy is a liability that slows you down. I do not, will not, and did not want to play that game. So I left. And I left to build something that didn't require ass suckery and bending and spreading. So I made Enoch Marketing. And it is a small team. And it's a small team deliberately because I know what's happening in my team's lives. I know what's happening in their families' lives. I know what their challenges are. Not because I'm performing empathy, because I genuinely care about what happens to the people I work with. And I will. I'm taking those people in the long term. So it behooves me to be genuine with them and to know their needs and to help them. And damn it, they have taken such good care of me. I have never been on a team as good as the one I'm on now. And that starts with empathy. That goes down and it comes back up. Now, that's the direct opposite of the Blue Falcon world that I got to lead back in the day. And when you've experienced what it costs to work with someone who sees you as a utility, then you make a different choice when you're the one in charge. Which is Mary Shelley's point. That's the whole point of Frankenstein. It's the experience of not being seen that produces the capacity to see others, if you choose to use it correctly. Now we're going to talk about CrossFit gym specifically, and we're going to hop around a little bit. So let's bring it into your gym. CrossFit exists on the narcissism spectrum too, as you know. And that's not an insult. Someone who shows up at 5 a.m., pushes through a brutal WOD, tracks their nutrition, prioritizes their recovery, 100% healthy self-love. That's why they joined. That energy is good, and it tends to rub off on people. But there's another version that shows up in this small, incestuous, toxic world that is the CrossFit world. I love it. I love you all. But you all know that there's more than chalk being shared. Let's put it that way. The coach who has to be the best athlete in the room The owner who can't take feedback from a member because it threatens their identity as the expert. The gym that posts content only about itself and can't understand why the community is not growing. There's a problem there. A mirror that needs to be shown. Right? You never stop looking at yourself long enough to see other people. You have to be able to see other people. Because here's the thing. This happens from me to you all, and then from you all to your people. You have to understand that you are not the hero in this story. I'm not the hero of Enoch marketing. We're the guides. You gym owners who take care of your people, you are the heroes. And when you are taking care of the people, you're not the heroes. It's the person who ends up putting up that PR or drops 40 pounds. They're the heroes. So if we're constantly looking at ourselves and trying to bolster ourselves, like, oh, I'm such an expert. Oh, I know everything. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. Oh, I provoke people into sleeping with me at their gyms. If you know, you know. Then you're missing the point. Your narcissism is focused on you instead of being empathetic enough to take care of somebody else. And that's a dangerous place to be. Now, if you're constantly thinking, oh, I'm a great coach, I have a great gym, I have great programming, I don't see why my gym isn't growing, it's probably because you haven't put the emphasis on the right person. And putting the emphasis on the right person means finding their needs and meeting those needs by expressing enough empathy to be able to properly communicate with them what they need so they can be successful. Does that make sense? Focus on them. Focus on meeting their needs. They will stay. As my father used to say, no one rebels against love. And in this case, loving someone is putting their needs before your ego. And that goes all the way into selling as well, because there's people everywhere who have needs. We're human beings. We're built to move. We're built to be functional. We're built to be able to squat and jump and deadlift and run. That's how we are designed. And in today's day and age, it becomes very difficult to be able to exercise our physical design without something like a coach or a gym or CrossFit. There are other ways to be fit, yes, 100%. However, being able to exercise our physical function is a need that you get to fix as the CrossFit coach. You get to address a direct biological need in a not sharing chalk type of a way. You get to do that. And in understanding that, you can lead another person to do better. But you have to put yourself in their shoes. When you're bringing them in on a, introductory sit down, whether that be their first class, whether that be their 100th class, you have to be able to put the needs of the other person so high that they feel valued and they'll stick around. It's not about your ego. And I have met many, many coaches who get jealous of their athletes because their athletes do better than them. It's no wonder your gym isn't growing. Narcissist. Anyway, so let's get to the end. Whew, okay. Whew, that was a lot. I completely went off teleprompter there. You're welcome, guys. You get the authentic me this time. So, to recap, the narcissism spectrum is real, and we all sit on it somewhere. The goal is not to eliminate self-love, it's to perform it and to excuse me. The narcissism spectrum is real, and we all sit on it. The goal is not to eliminate self-love. It's to transform it into something that includes and helps other people. The 3 levels of empathy: see, feel, and understand. Most people still stop at C, but understanding is where the real work happens. Motivation and manipulation are two sides of the same coin. And understanding people gives you the opportunity to exploit them. It is your character that determines whether or not you do. Any tool can be used as a weapon, and any weapon can be used as a tool. Choose the right thing. In the next episode, we're getting into Law 3, seeing through people's masks, because everyone presents a version of themselves to the world. A version that makes them look good, capable, trustworthy, etc. Greene teaches us how to read past it and what to do when you find out what it is. If you're finding this valuable, share it, subscribe, put the comments in the section. You can find us at enochmarketing.com and on IG and on Instagram. Book a call if you're ready to build something real. I'm Colin Charles. This is Enoch Marketing, and we'll talk to you soon.